A couple buys a duplex previously owned by a deceased serial killer. Unbeknownst to them, someone wants to keep the previous owner's legacy alive. A man hides in the dark before bashing his victim's head with a hammer. After the deed, the victim's girlfriend arrives, so the killer hides, waiting for a chance to take her. Footage of these events is shown in a documentary show called The Slumlord Tapes. Sky watches this while making out with her husband, but Cam points out that it isn't a good idea to watch people being attacked in their homes when they have just moved into their new house. Still, his wife remains fixated in the documentary, so Cam goes to bed. The following day, Cam works on the apartment next door, which they plan to rent out. He struggles particularly with the water heater, which keeps making clicking noises. That afternoon, Sky's sister Carolyn arrives to move in with them temporarily. They check out the apartment to greet Cam, and he expresses sympathy for what happened with her husband. This gets awkward, so Carolyn just asserts that she doesn't want her husband to find her. She then wonders how they got the duplex. Seeing the couple's awkward reaction, she gets nervous, so they reveal that the place belonged to the slumlord killer, who was known to put cameras in his rented homes. Shocked, Carolyn fears that there are still cameras hidden around, so the couple assures her that their contractor insisted that they didn't find any. Cam adds that the killer is dead anyway, so there's nothing to be scared about. Still, Carolyn is horrified that her sister saw the documentary and still bought the house. Later, the group watches the show, learning how investigators found cameras in shower heads, light bulbs, smoke detectors, and even toilets. This makes Carolyn uncomfortable, more so when the investigator on TV admitted that there might still be cameras that they haven't found yet. The show continues with an interview with one of the victim's friend. He visited the house when his friend called him in a panic, but no one was around. What he didn't know at the time was that a woman was screaming in the basement below him, but he couldn't hear her through the soundproofed walls. Creeped out, Carolyn decides to take a shower instead. As soon as she's gone, Sky scolds her husband for bringing up Carolyn's husband, Gio. He admits that it was foolish, then excuses himself to check on the water heater in the apartment. There, Cam finds the heater clicking again but also discovers bugs around. The shock causes him to drop his phone, and when he reaches for it, he accidentally finds a loose portion of the wall. Behind it is a crawl space set up like a secret office. Inside is a safe, an automated air freshener, and a computer that connects to the many cameras throughout the duplex. Cam is horrified at first until he finds the feed showing Carolyn in the bathroom. He becomes interested, then pulls himself away and shuts the computer down before he can see his sister-in-law's body. At dinner, Cam hesitantly tries to tell the women what he found. Before he can say anything, Carolyn sees a silhouette through the curtains behind him, making her scream. When Cam checks, however, there's no one there. As they prepare for bed later, the man tries telling his wife about his discovery again, but Sky gets distracted upon seeing from her phone that the slumlord killer had thousands of hours of footage of his tenants. She calls the man creepy, and Cam passively agrees, though an idea comes to his mind. The following day, he secretly goes into the apartment while the sisters argue about Carolyn's husband. The woman defends that her husband's assistant tempted him to sleep with her, pointing out that she was very attractive. Sky insists that Gio was also at fault since he didn't say no. Still, Carolyn thinks that men can't help their curiosity sometimes. Proving this, Cam becomes interested in putting the cameras to use. He watches his wife and sister-in-law through the feed and even rewinds the footage to when Carolyn was in the shower. He gets so drawn in watching her that he jumps when the automated air freshener activates. Only then does he feel guilty about what he is doing with his sister-in-law. Hoping to find another outlet, he checks and confirms that he can also see in the apartment shower. This gives him an idea. After fixing up the rental place, the couple starts interviewing potential tenants. Cam is uninterested when the tenants include men, though he becomes enthusiastic upon meeting two college women looking into the place. In contrast, Sky later complains that the women have no credit scores or jobs and suspects they might be rowdy tenants. Cam hints that having male tenants might be riskier and reminds Sky how they struggled during college, so the women might be going through the same. He encourages her to sympathize with them and help them out. He even starts flirting with his wife, leading to them getting intimate. During the act, Cam looks over his shoulder, knowing that they're being recorded. He later watches the recording but realizes how awful it is to look at himself and his wife. On another day, Sky continues watching the documentary and learns that the slumlord killer tacked screws into doors to prevent his victims from escaping. The show also includes an interview with Claire, one of the survivors. Despite escaping the killer, she's still frightened and lives under surveillance by reporters and strangers viewers interested in her story. The show then reveals that the slumlord killer's van was found burnt to crisp, leading investigators to assume that the man died in the fire. Because of his demise, they still don't know if there were other victims that the man had hidden away. Hearing this, Sky freaks out, unconvinced that the man is really dead. Days later, Cam sees that their new tenants, Amber and Ren, have arrived, so he rushes to help them carry their furniture. He attempts to get friendly with them and desperately tries to keep the conversation going. However, the women's prolonged silence makes it clear that they're not interested, so he leaves. As soon as he does, someone from work calls him. However, Cam ignores this and sneaks back into the lady's apartment instead, tempted to spy on the new tenants already. He stops when he gets a message reminding him that he has a meeting today. With no choice, Cam turns to leave, but Amber accidentally spills a box just outside, blocking his exit. Trapped, the man takes the call from work and lowers his voice to avoid getting heard by the woman outside. As he does, he sees that Ren is changing in her room, making him pause to watch her. Luckily for him, his co-workers assume that he's having connection issues, so they decide to postpone the meeting, allowing him to watch the unsuspecting ladies through the rest of the day. Later, he hears Ren craving for some barbecue, giving him an idea. That afternoon, Sky returns home and is surprised to see her husband having some barbecue with their new tenants. Cam claims that he cooked to welcome the ladies, but his wife points out that he doesn't usually use the grill. This is proven by the tag still attached to the tongs he used, indicating that he just bought it. Cam defends that he wanted to surprise his wife, so he tried a new recipe. However, Sky gets weirded out by his behavior, so she excuses herself back to the house. That night, Cam ends up working late to catch up. Carolyn arrives late as well, having gone through lawyers to get a restraining order from her husband. Seeing her tired, he advises her to take a shower to relax. With this in mind, the woman goes to her room, unaware that Cam immediately goes into the secret room to check on her. Ultimately, Carolyn decides to just go to bed. Disappointed, he starts checking the other ladies under the hidden lenses, but a spider crawls over the keyboard. He blows on it to scare it off, but the dust gets blown to his face, and he sneezes just as Ren passes by the other side of the wall. Lucky for him, she dismisses what she heard. Sighing in relief, Cam then checks the other feeds and finds a white van slowly passing by their house. The following day, Cam installs soundproofing foam to reduce the chance of getting discovered. The ladies then return home, and Ren rants about a guy she likes who won't make a move on her despite her dropping hints. With that, she declares that she wants to be with a man who's forward. Inspired, Cam suddenly takes a photo of himself and sends it to Ren. However, her reaction is more horrified than interested, so he tries to save face by texting Ren, claiming that he accidentally sent the picture that was meant for his wife. The tenants doubt this, and Amber even suggests telling Sky about the photo. Realizing what he'd just done, Cam quickly sends another text, begging Ren to delete the photo and not tell anyone about it. He watches in fear as Ren finally sends a response, and he sighs in relief that she agrees to keep it a secret. Later, Cam sees his wife buried in documents about the slumlord killer. Sky defends that she saw a white van passing by their house, and it was similar to what the killer owned. Because of this, she accessed public records about the case and learned that the investigators never confirmed if the killer was dead. His van was so burnt that they couldn't recover any remains, so the man might still be alive. Despite this, Cam reasons that since everyone knows about him already, the slumlord killer isn't likely going to return to the houses he owned. As soon as he says this, however, the man recalls the safe in the secret room, wondering if the killer might want to retrieve it. When Sky watches the documentary again, she continues Claire's interview. She recalled how the killer, who was their landlord, visited too often and lingered too long during their conversations. During this, Cam visits the tenant's empty apartment, unaware that he's acting almost exactly like the slumlord killer. When he makes his way to the door, he's surprised to see that Amber has returned. The woman is pissed that he's there without their permission, so Cam excuses that he was having a problem with the water heater, which they share with their home. Still, Amber points out that he needs their permission before entering their house. The man backs away and apologizes before leaving. Upon exiting, he sees the white van parked outside, so he tries to confront the man inside only for the driver to speed off. That evening, while Cam prepares dinner, Sky receives a message. She's stunned as the message is from one of the tenants, complaining about how her husband is making them feel uncomfortable. Cam tries to downplay this, but his wife scolds scolds him for trying to get too close to the college ladies. The man chuckles at this before promising to stop, though he comments that everyone is being too sensitive about this. This ruins Sky's mood, so she walks out, leaving Cam to have dinner alone. The following morning, the man sees Ren and Amber exit their apartment with camping gear. As soon as they're gone, he sneaks into their apartment again to check the footage from outside, discovering that the white van has passed by numerous times. He also sees that Sky is currently checking every nook and cranny for cameras. He gets distracted from this when he sees footage where the van's driver aimed a green laser to block out the camera outside, confirming that the man knew where it was hidden. Just then, he sees Sky discovering the device in her sister's bathroom. With no choice, he joins his wife as she inspects it. He tries to make her think that it can be anything else, but Sky knows that it's a camera, so she decides to surrender it as evidence. Fearing that this will also get him discovered, he tries to discourage her from this. Suddenly, Carolyn arrives, freaking out about threatening messages she's been receiving. She's sure it's her husband and that he's found her, so Sky urges everyone to leave the house tonight to be safe. As Carolyn predicted, her husband Gio arrives that night. As he's screaming for his wife, he notices a green laser aimed at the door. The man follows where the light is coming from, but before he can do anything, someone slams a hammer across his face and kills him. The group returns home late that night, oblivious to what happened. Cam later checks and discovers one of the cameras was blocked by the green light, making the footage unclear as the slumlord killer was installing something at their door. However, Gio arrived at this moment. With the footage blurred, Cam checks the others and discovers one in the driveway recording the slumlord killer dragging Gio's body away. Cam screams at the sight, finally realizing the danger they're in. The air freshener suddenly sprays at him, so he instinctively elbows it, removing its cover and revealing a camera inside. The man finally realizes that the slumlord killer has been watching him. This leaves Cam on edge, so he stays up until morning. Sky, who hadn't noticed that he had been up all night, packs the device she found, planning to surrender it. Hoping to appease her, Cal admits that he believes her theory that the killer is still alive. Sky smiles, thinking that her husband is finally listening to her. Cam then works up the courage to confess to her, but ultimately he drops the subject. Once everyone is gone, Cam gets to work and writes a message to the killer, inviting him to meet in the apartment. Soon, the slumlord killer walks into the apartment, and Cam shows him that he is ready to call for help if anything goes wrong. He insists that the man can take his belongings downstairs and leave them alone afterward, promising to destroy whatever evidence he leaves behind. With that, the two head into the secret room, and the killer opens his safe, where he's hidden dozens of keys for the houses he's rigged. He then nods to Cam, confirming that he'll leave them alone now. However, Ren returns, blocking them from leaving. To keep the man from killing her, Cam rushes out, but the woman is horrified to see him crawling out of the closet. He insists on her leaving, promising to explain everything if they leave now. Just then, the killer exits the closet and quickly knocks them both out. Hours later, Cam finds himself bound and gagged in the secret room. The feed shows Ren tied up in the living room while the killer is packing her belongings. Ren soon wakes up, so she hurries to the door but struggles through her binds. This leads the killer to find and kill her while Cam can only cry. Just then, Sky returns, which the killer notices. The woman proceeds to make popcorn but gets distracted when she hears something from the front door. After seeing nothing, she realizes that her popcorn is burning. Sky hurries to let the smoke out, only to discover a screw tacked to her door, preventing her from opening it. Sure that the killer is in her home, the woman rushes to take a knife, only for him to grab her and pin her on the table. Cam freaks out as he watches the killer ram his hammer towards his wife, who luckily avoids his attacks. Sky kicks him off and hits him with a pot, but the man manages to grab her and bind her hands. After the deed, the killer looks at the camera, knowing that Cam is watching. The slumlord killer then packs a bag to make it look like Sky left on her own. Plotting to take the woman, he removes the screw on the door, but upon opening it, Carolyn slams a pot against him. The man, however, uses his drill to wound the woman. Sky hurries to grab the screw he just removed to undo her binds, praying to be able to save her sister. However, the man chokes the woman, and Sky watches as she takes her last breath. Still, Sky tears her binds and tackles the man down. She then uses the drill to kill him, finally putting an end to his terror. Eventually, Sky becomes a guest in the documentary that she's been watching. She's thankful that the slumlord killer is finally gone for good, but mourns that they never found Cam. Unbeknownst to her, he was still trapped in the secret room, but his screams were muffled by the soundproofing he'd installed to hide his atrocities.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.